Superman, one of the most popular and biggest influential characters in all of comics and arguably all of fiction. For over 80 years, his presence has been known to society as one of the most popular characters of all time. And if you think 80 years is not long, that is more than twice the amount of One Piece's airing. Entire movie franchises have started and ended, and Superman is still going on. So to appreciate the very expansive lore of Superman, we're going to be going over the long history of Superman to figure out how strong he actually is across 80 years worth of content. Now, before I begin with this video, I just want to give a shout out to my boy Lemon. He's the consultant for this video, and I don't think that I'd be able to make this video without him. To appreciate Lemon, be sure to comment W Lemon in the comments. Right before we get into the video, be sure to join the Discord server, discord.gg/noblees, where you can engage in debates and just overall talk with people about power scaling. And also like and subscribe, we're almost there to 5k. A long time ago, I made a video called Superman vs. Goku Debunked, where I proposed the idea that Superman does not get past 6th dimensional and that this dude basically caps that complex multiversal. And after doing a lot of research and with the help of the consultant for this video, I realized that this take was horribly wrong. So to fix my mistakes, we're going to be starting off with strength first to figure out how much can Superman destroy, where does he scale in terms of attack power. To understand the strength of Superman, we need to understand that the strength, or basically the scaling of Superman, is contingent on where the DC multiverse scales within dimensional tiering. What I mean by dimensional tiering is, for example, 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, 5-dimensional, 6-dimensional, you get the point. Because the higher in dimensional tiering you go, the more you tap into higher sets of infinity. There are even tiers within power scaling that go even beyond the concept of dimensionality itself. So where does the DC multiverse scale, and how does Superman interact with it or scale to it? The weird part about this question is that it could be answered in many different expressions. So what we're going to do for this video is we're going to divide the feats and statements for Superman divided into low tier scaling, mid tier scaling, and high tier scaling. For low tier scaling, Superman at the very least should be universal to multiversal. The first feat that easily proves this is that it's directly stated that Superman was shattering the boundaries of time and space. Breaking the boundaries of time and space implies that Superman completely transcends or exceeds the dimensional manifold of the universe, which would follow that he's universal from this feat. He also runs the fate and beats the living donkey shit out of a condensed universe named Nebula Man, and it's just not close at all like Superman gaps. He also simultaneously separated two space-times, and to separate two space-times of a universal size, this would have to be a low multiversal feat. So already at a low end, he consistently has this universal to low multiversal ranges of power, and this would just easily refute a lot of people's claims that Superman struggles to reach universal, and yeah, no he doesn't. For the mid-ends, Superman would scale to the orphan box Amp Metallo, and the orphan box is directly stated to transcend time and space, as well as giving time, direction, and meaning, whatever that means. At bare minimum, this would scale to 5th dimensional or low complex multiversal. This is where the mid-end scaling ends, and now we're gonna go to the high tier scaling, because I kid you not, the most consistent form of Superman scaling is the high tier scaling. The first feat is Superman being able to scale to mature Doomsday. The same Doomsday who was able to affect the Phantom Zone consistently and even have the capacity to break out of it and just, you know, break it. If scaling to Doomsday wasn't enough, Superman literally admits that he can destroy this entire realm very easily. This same realm being consistently stated to be a dimensionless, timeless, spaceless plane of existence. This would fall under the criteria of outerversal. This is gonna logically follow, as any entity or property that does not have time and space would also not be subject to the limitations or constraints within time and space. And being unlimited by the concepts of time and space is outerversal by definition. So yes, Superman is outerversal from this feat, but it doesn't stop here, because outerversal Superman gets even more consistent. Enter Sun Dip Superman. Superman, after being oozed with energy from the sun, knocks out the World Forger, who is stated to be a 6th dimensional being. Now, within the world of DC, the 6th dimension contextually refers to something completely different from the physical model of the 6th dimension. In the context of DC, the 6th dimension is in fact the highest plane of existence within the entire DC cosmology. This space is also, yet again, aspatial and atemporal. This is because it surpasses lower planes of existence such as the time stream, a place that is stated over and over and over and over and over again to be beyond the concepts of time and space, not being constrained to dimensional space. Now, some people might argue,
oh, but Superman was amped. so he doesn't scale to it in his base.
Even if I accept that Superman doesn't scale to his amp self or the World Forger in base, he would surpass both of them in a later arc. This is because in that same arc, Superman receives a huge power-up to which he states that he is now stronger than ever before. This would obviously include himself from the World Forger fight, as that fight takes place before this event. And funnily enough, what's really ironic about this scan is that it also suggests that Superman is outerversal. This is because Superman admits that concepts such as distance and space-time have largely lost their meaning to him. Now, I know some people are going to argue, oh, well, it says largely lost their meaning, so that means that time and space still hold meaning, therefore he's not outerversal. This may sound like a validated critique, however, the GOAT Lemon, who's the consultant for this video, actually created a really good refute towards this argument that I found really interested in, so I wanted to add it to this video. Lemon argues that when Superman states that these concepts have largely lost their meaning to him, it's referring to the fact that they lost their meaning to him pragmatically, as in they don't limit his attack power or his speed, but they may hold relevance to him relating to his knowledge or relating to his mind. This already sets a framework which explains why he said largely lost his meaning to me, so this interpretation already holds explanatory power. It can be the case that the practical limits of space-time are devoid for him in the sense of not constraining his stats, but they're still valuable and meaningful ideas for him to operate upon relating to his knowledge. Because when we say the concept of space and time do not apply to X at all, we mean that the notion of space-time have no inherent meaning to them. They don't need such notions to base their perception of reality upon. For Superman, who is a three-dimensional being, such concepts can still be valuable to lay foundation of his perceptive abilities upon reality, but they do not restrain him in a practical case like his stats. That is why I believe he says largely than for them to lose all meaning to him. And to finally add icing on the cake to this interpretation in regards to consistency, Superman is capable of crossing distances that cease to be distances, proving that the concept of space or distance is meaningless to Superman in reference to his stats, which overall proves that he is outerversal plausibly with this data. More evidence supporting that the sixth dimension is outerversal for consistency is the fact that it surpasses the source wall. Not only do guides just admit that the sixth dimension is beyond the source wall, but Mr. Mixie states that possibility is granted if the source wall is damaged. The source wall is just going to hold relevance because it's literally stated multiple times to be a place beyond measurement, beyond dimensional measurement, a place without measurement, a realm that transcends dimensional measurements, which is outerversal. And ironically enough, Superman also has a feat of breaking the source wall. He is definitely the most consistent outerversal character in fiction. The sixth dimension shit is so consistent that even writers in DC admit that the sixth dimension is not a physical dimension. Now to move on to the alleged debunks to DC being outerversal or methods to try to downplay Superman. Now let's debunk some arguments or quote-unquote debunks people try to use to downplay Superman. People try to argue that the sixth dimension has time because Superman stated that the sixth dimension is a dimension where all of time exists at once. And obviously a place with no time cannot have time, so therefore the sixth dimension has time. I was initially fooled by this argument, but I actually looked into the actual comic and observed some more context, and no, this is not what it's saying. If you actually understand what Superman is talking about, he's talking about theoretical ideas that are implemented by scientists to understand their reality, and not the actual fifth and sixth dimension in DC. And by the way, this is just going to be verifiably true because the sixth dimension is described to be beyond understanding. And obviously you cannot implement something that is beyond our understanding in order to make understanding about our reality. That is incoherent. So no, the statement is only talking about theoretical models of physical 6D and 5D space, and this statement is not literally reflective on the fifth dimension and the sixth dimension within the cosmology. Also, the prior scans I gave in this video make my interpretation more expected to be true. But also, even if I grant that the statements are reflective on the actual fifth and sixth dimension, the statement of where all of time exists at once does not automatically validate that the sixth dimension is temporal. This is because the sixth dimension can still be interpreted as a timeless realm, but one that governs or is the foundation for all possibilities. And funnily enough, there's actually something that backs up this interpretation in the exact same comic. This is because Superman states that the sixth dimension is a place that contains everything that ever was, is, or can be, which is existing within a simultaneous mode for an entity to oversee or manipulate. I mean, for God's sake, it's literally called the multiverse's control room. So when they mean by all of time exists at once, in simple baby caveman terms, they basically just mean that it's a place where one can oversee all of time. People will also try to argue that the fifth dimension does in fact have space and time because of this one fuck-ass bunny I don't remember the name of saying that the bleed is the fifth dimension. But this argument sucks ass and comes from people who don't know a single thing about DC, because the fifth dimension has imps, and the bleed does not have imps. So no, it is not talking about the fifth dimension, but is just describing the physical fifth dimension within DC, the same way there is 3D and 4D. Now, just to save everyone's time and only use the bare minimum, I'm not going to mention every single timeless or spaceless thing that exists within DC. There's just so much of that stuff, it's like laughably funny. Hell, I even think that I'm in DC and my dick is timeless in DC. Low-key, I just believe that my dick is timeless in DC. So overall, when it comes to attack power, Superman would scale from outer versal to high outer versal. Now let's go over how fast is Superman. Superman being able to reduce distances to 0 relative to the fact that the concepts of space and time don't mean anything to him in context of physical stats, which is verified that Superman has a relevant speed. Superman also consistently can catch up to Wally West and Barry Allen in races. Superman was able to escape the source, which is stated to have no direction. Here are some minor potential immeasurable speed feats for Superman. I know these are lower than a relevant speed, but I just want to add them for convenience if you guys only want to use bare minimum. Superman was able to travel from Apocalypse to Earth, and Apocalypse exists outside the bounds of time and space. Superman was also able to fly into hyperspace, which is stated to be beyond time and space as well. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this dude Superman is so fast, he has more consistent speed feats than anything that is shown within Sonic. Base Superman without even trying would speed blitz Sonic with negative difficulty. You can pull out Game, Archie, you could literally merge every single Sonic and Superman would still be faster in base. Disagree? Well, come debate me. You know where to go. It's linked in my bio. But anyways, that's all I got for this video. I would just like to say a huge thanks to Lemon. I don't think that I'd be able to make this video without him. I said this in the intro, and I will say it again out of appreciation. I would like to humbly apologize to the DC scaling community for downscaling the verse so low, as I myself am just a confused peasant and I was wrong the entire time. Let me know which in-depth scales you guys want me to see next. I am not done with the Crossverse tour and I will be scaling other fictions besides Dragon Ball. It's not over.